Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you're at. Right now, we're here in Alpharetta, Georgia at hi-rez Studios, bringing you week number 4 of the SPL. My name is Fdot, joined here by someone's boy, Adanas.
I thought I was your boy. You just keep switching boys. This is ridiculous. Week 4 though, Luminosity versus Denial, going to be the first match we're going to be seeing today, and we're going to have 3 matches for you as always this Thursday, and I'm pretty excited. I think this week's going to be interesting, right? The first couple weeks, a lot of the teams were figuring out their kinks.
Sure.
Now it's game time, right? You need to have your kinks figured out. And you need to start making the run for DreamHack. Still at the top though, we have Enemy. Somehow, I got to be done doubting them at this point. It's honestly ridiculous.
I mean, honestly, like you said, enemy 7-1, envious Luminosity clearing up the number 2 and number 3 as predicted by many people. Denial and Soar, somewhere in the middle. Allegiance and Randozos, who will both be playing today, have a spot to climb out from underneath.
Now I'm excited about Soar, right? 3-1. They've played the fewest games currently in the SPL. I'm not sure if there's a team over in Europe that has had only 4 games yet. I'll figure that out sometime. But Soar's going to be playing today as well, and this is a team that I think is going to make DreamHack. Honestly, I think this is the team to watch this year. I'm not saying they're going to be number 1 in the end, but they're definitely going to be competitive. We've already seen them face off against Envy and Luminosity, 2 of the considered top teams outside of Enemy, sitting actually at the top, but a lot of solid players that they've shown up against.
Today they'll have to take on Eager, who have seen some recent success, even in the jungle, where a lot of people thought that their situation was a little bit problematic. That'll be the last game that we take on. Before that one, we have ALG versus Randozos, but we're going to start the day off with Luminosity versus Denial, which should be very interesting. Before we get into today's games, I want to reflect on what you said about Enemy, where, at some point you got to stop doubting them. I did an interview with the owners of Enemy, and recently Clicky retweeted it, and he was like, hey, it was a while ago, and he brought it back up again. It was before the season started, and he said, hey man, there's a reason when our team split off that we decided to stick with Pain to Beyond. There might have been more talent that other people might have saw on the other side of the team, but we stuck with the captain, we stuck with Pain, we stuck with the general. And what Enemy has been able to do, both last split with Pain and a bunch of newer up-and-coming players, they've been able to replicate this time around as well. 7-1, sure. The first week, a couple of wins, maybe it's false. The second week, a couple of wins, maybe it's false. We're heading into the 4th week now, Kevin, and we're almost at that halfway point. And at this point, I'm ready to just trust in Pain.
I think it's trust in Pain, but honestly, the players that he's grabbed have shown up. PandaCat, a beautiful match last time we saw him play. I thought his positioning I don't want to say reminiscent against Oceans, but a lot more people saw Oceans on her gameplay, and I saw the same thing from PandaCat, that same level of play that's honestly at the top of North America. But it's Luminosity and Denial today.
Exactly.
LG seems to have figured some things out. I kind of mentioned earlier, the first couple weeks, like, let's figure stuff out. LG seems to have hit that stride. But they're going to be matching up against Denial, who I think has a lot of talent and not necessarily, I think, the record behind showing that.
Yeah, we'll take a look how this one works out. As we said, Enemy currently sits 7-1, but if both of these wins go the way of Luminosity, they can quickly find themselves number 2, putting themselves at 6-2. Denial will try their damnedest to stop Luminosity from doing that, and with that, they'll go opt for the first pick and the first ban, and they're going to take Ho Yi out of the hands of BaRRaCCuDDa.
Luminosity almost guaranteed to ban Khepri here in the first 2 bans. 5 out of the 6 games they've played, they've taken it away. The only time they actually picked it was when they had Order side, and they've had Chaos side 5 out of their 6 games. They prefer this side. However, they always ban away Khepri. They don't like to deal with it, and if they have first pick option, they grab it.
Khepri taken off the table, as you said, and a couple of a definite jungler, and Odin, the little flex man, going to be taken off. Odin still very, very strong, despite the inclusion of Spectral Armor, which we may or may not see today.
And his nerf as well. Ring is now 75 seconds instead of 60 seconds. And I think this has to do with a lot of... Luminosity hasn't really had the time to test out Spectral Armor. They don't want to risk going in and using this item against Odin and not, kind of being as strong as they had hoped it was. But Denial, they're going to take this opportunity to first pick Athena for more than likely Shadowq.
Excellent choice here from Athena. Not only do you have the global reach of the ultimate defender of Olympus, but, well, the very obvious point of the taunt leading directly into damage.
Soul going to be grabbed from Luminosity, a very hotly picked up goddess in Season 3. can be flexed for both the Hunter role and the mid. That's what most people like it. As I expect BaRRaCCuDDa is going to be grabbing this, though. We've seen Luminosity kind of trend more towards putting Soul in BaRRa's hands. Very versatile, allows you to come online a little bit sooner. Also late game, I mean, Soul, her ultimate. Even if you don't hit every tick, just the first tick, so much damage.
Soul brings the late game, and Isis certainly brings the early game. We'll take a look at BaRRaCCuDDa on that character, unless Snoopy wants to pull Azalea, but I think that's extremely doubtful. So Luminosity now have a nice balance. Where will they fill in the middle? For now, Denial will take Chronos, likely head-to-head against Isis.
So this matchup is pretty interesting. The BaRRaCCuDDa and Xenotronics. Now, Xenotronics hasn't played every game for Denial. It was, I believe, Mace to the face earlier in the split. But both these players have actually the highest average damage in the entirety of the SPL. And I kind of expect this game to go pretty long. I do think LG, I lean more towards LG pulling out at least one of these games guaranteed, but the later this game goes, I think Xenotronics and TheBoosh are going to be the players to look at because they have been both playing okay for their team. Xenotronics, I think, the biggest one, though, needs a lot of work with him and Skeeledon, and this Chronos Naja combo, we'll have to see how they pull it off.
There is still an option that Chronos might wind up in the long lane, but Vetium strikes me as a character like Zatman that prefers to traditional physical hunters.
I feel like it'll be hunters. It's going to be Kali picked up for andinster in the jungle. Giannis is going to be banned away. So it seems like Luminosity is looking more towards your style, where they think Vetium is looking at that Chronos in the hunter lane. And Denial, they're going to respond, banning away Guan Yu from Snoopy.
Banning out Zeus as well for the mid lane. So Luminosity definitely have their sights on Denial's mid lane. Now, if I'm Denial and Xenotronics can play the Chronos, even if the option was originally for Vetium, I'm now giving my Chronos to mid lane if Xenotronics can play it. Because with that flex pick, that's the beauty of the flex pick. Now you can bait Luminosity into banning out these mid gods and say, haha, it was a clever ruse. We're going in a different role than you thought.
I mean, this could be Luminosity also basically guaranteeing that the Chronos is going mid.
Sure. By
banning away the rest of Xenotronics God Pull and then taking away the Isis. So it's kind of a win-win for, I guess I would say, both teams. Amaterasu, though, going to Snoopy, who's had a pretty good showing on the God so far, seems to be his preference.
Snoopy has developed this persistence strategy, I would say, where he just kind of Sun Wukongs his way around the team fights. He's just always around in the middle of the team fight, and Amaterasu is perfect for that style of play.
Okay, so we're going to have an old school combo. I guess not too old school. That's more of a new generation, a Season 3, Season 2 combo. Medusa and Athena. Obviously, the taunt going to be a pretty big setup for the Medusa Petrify, hoping to get some significant stuns off. Also, not a lot of people think about this, but very good against Isis as well, considering if she's in her Wing Gust form, if she wants to get the damage off, she has to look at her opponents to do it. So that means TheBoosh will have to either face away and risk losing that damage, or could get caught off guard in the middle of it.
And of course, Athena also brings an extra interrupt for the Isis Wing Gust. If the ultimate from Medusa is not an option, you have that CC.
Always a little bit risky, though, if you're trying to dash in with Medusa.
Osiris will be selected for Denial, so likely to see Osiris go head-to-head with Amaterasu. And taking a page out of Suntouch's book is going to be the Bacchus, although JeffHindla, to be fair, has definitely played his fair share.
I don't know what you mean taking a page. Like, this is JeffHindla's God. Now, there was a spurt of time, especially in Season 1 and Season 2, where he didn't get to play it as much as he wanted to, but I mean, this is who he emulates his beard off of, is Bacchus. Like, he's actually said, I think he probably has a Bacchus emo in his Twitch chat or something, but Jeff here is going to be on Bacchus, and this is a good support, I think, for this specifically. Going to allow an engage tool on the squad, since Snoopy more than likely going to be diving the backline. Also, the thing about JeffHindla is he always likes to be aggressive, and that's why we see the Sobex and the Bacchus really work out for him so well.
If you do have to identify an Achilles heel for Luminosity, it's going to be peel, or lack thereof. BaRRaCCuDDa's got a slow. Not really going to be very effective. JeffHindla, of course, with the Bacchus has the knockout, but the stun a little bit unreliable. It's really TheBoosh that has the most tools on this team, and we all know TheBoosh is going to be building very, very aggressive. So
I would agree. There's not a lot of hard peel, especially when you're going up against the Naja. You can't really peel the Naja. A lot of the times it's more about the players juking. There's a little bit of, I'm going to get in the Naja's way, right? But if Skeeledon is on point and he can hit his Windfire wheels onto opponents, you can't stop that. Once they're up in the air, they're done. We have seen Sanctuary timed pretty well against it. I think in Season 3, a lot of the players have stepped up their mechanical abilities, where they're actually, the second they see it come out, they'll Sanctuary, and while they don't reduce all of the damage, they'll, at the very least, immune a hit or two.
They'll minimize it at the very least, and we'll see the damage that comes out right away. Denial able to take out the mid camps very early on.
Oh, it's Medusa mid.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is a little bit of Paradigm, or excuse me, Panthera.
Yeah, Mr. Okay, now I can say it. Taking a page out of Yaman's.
There you go. Okay, he was the first one to really use it. At least use it frequently and at a high level, as we saw in Worlds. BaRRaCCuDDa could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Ooh.
Oh wow, first blood.
Xenotronics, the mid Medusa with a quick dash. Love that decision. It picks up the first blood just at level 2.
That was zero hesitation from Denial, and this is what we need to see from specifically Skeeledon and Xenotronics, because these are, I wouldn't say, they're both the new players to the team. The team was kind of newly formed as a whole, but they're the ones that have really been struggling, right? Vetium and Benji have been to Worlds. They've been on the world stage. They know how to play, especially heading in the late game. Early game, though, you need your jungler and mid to combine, and that's what we haven't been seeing from Denial. Beautiful execution.
Exactly. Left lane seeming to go very similar as well. Shadowq able to taunt into a little bit of damage from Vetium. So, you know, you and I both said in the picks and ban phase that Vetium definitely more known for his traditional physical hunters, but this day and age in Season 3, you gotta have a Chronos.
You have to. You absolutely have to have a Chronos, a Soul as well, and I really like this, seeing kind of these hunters and teams as a whole kind of delve into different combinations. I mean, if Epsilon won Worlds with Medusa mid, you kind of got to at least try it. And Throwing Dagger now is even making it more potent. And this is worrying specifically for andinster.
And he will survive. The dot's not enough to take down the young Kali, only level 3 at the moment, comparatively speaking, 4 to the other guys in mid.
So when you have a Kali jungle, you typically want a high pressure mid, right? Isis. Right. Because BaRRaCCuDDa died so early, and look at this. BaRRaCCuDDa is level 2 right now. Just hit 3 to Skeeledon's 5. This is beautiful from Denial. They pick up the god that's supposed to allow Kali to come online, and now they're abusing their lead.
And the power of Naja in this early, right after I hit level 5, is so powerful because he's one of the gods that if you're, I mean, even if you are level 5, as soon as that 5 mark hits and you're able to get sash, crit, win fight, you don't want to fight this Naja.
Even this, Skeeledon, I mean, he could, I don't want to say he should dive, but at this point, he can look to dive, and
he can take those aggressive stances in a mid lane. You don't take that if you're behind. But at level 5, if you dare look at me, I'm going to ult you. It's that simple.
Right-hand side, though, Benji getting poked out as andinster made a rotation, but that's only going to hurt Snoopy. Amaterasu does lose this matchup in the early game. The Osiris typically wins most warrior versus warrior matchups. That's a lot of the reason he's picked is to dominate lane, and now that andinster has actually rotated over, this means that there's going to be a little bit less farm for Snoopy, and he was already getting controlled, and now he's going to be even a little further behind andinster, just trying to find as much farm as he can with BaRRaCCuDDa dying that early.
Exactly. Andy identified that mid lane wasn't a safe option, so he had to find, he just had to go someplace else. Opting for the solo lane wasn't successful, but
I want to see LG invade red to counter this. I don't know if they'll do it, though.
They have very little pressure. Denial have all the pressure in the world, heading in from the wrong side in the mid lane. Looked like they wanted to take a look towards Andy, but quickly finds himself in the left jungle.
This is surprising to me because, oh, actually, Xenotronics going to spot on andinster. He's going to jump over, and now we can see the red buff try and be stolen, but it was actually LG who has already secured it.
Xeno gets stunned out, but no follow-up from the guys on Luminosity, so Denial will continue their steady farm. Right now, they're actually sitting up about 2K.
Snoopy not going to get rooted there. Shadowq will close the distance, going to find the taunt, and Snoopy's going to be in a little bit of trouble here. A lot of slows on to Benji. Sprint's going to be popped, but a little bit too late. Or actually, no sprint, excuse me. Just Snoopy trying to get away. Not enough.
It's that old school sprint effect, the Fatalis effect. Passive for Osiris allows him to battle so well, especially in this particular area. Already level 7 are our solo laners here. Just 420 into this match. 2 kills to Denial, 0 for Luminosity on the other side.
2,000 gold up, and Denial is doing everything they need to right now. They are completely abusing their lead. We saw that invade blue. They look towards red, although LG had already secured that. A good look onto Luminosity's dual lane for making sure to get that in time before the rotation came in. But they're just trying to find every lead they can. They've grabbed every single mid-harpy spawn since the first that came up, and invaded boars as well. And now Denial, they need to be careful, though. They can't allow this game to go super late. There is a Kali on the other team, as well as a Soul and an Amaterasu.
And there is a Chronos on their side, though.
There is a Chronos. They also have a Medusa. I still think heading into the late game, this Naja specifically will fall off a little bit.
Naja's role will definitely just be eliminate BaRRaCCuDDa, right? He has
or take someone, or if andinster ults, you literally just ult them.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to go to. Naja counters Kali very specifically because of the way their two ultimates interact.
Look at this, though. A setup here. Shadowq's going to find the taunt.
Not going to find the ultimate is Xeno, though. Spirit Ball won't hit either. If Luminosity were able to find that stun, I think there might have been an opportunity there, Kevin. But
just a little bit out of range. They tried, though, and that's the most important thing for Denial, is making sure to abuse the lead they've already gained, because Luminosity just becomes more dangerous the later this time goes on. But
look at Benji.
He doesn't care. Luminosity also doing a fantastic job of kind of holding on and not allowing themselves to get picked, because it's one thing to lose your jungle buffs, it's another thing to lose players, because that leads into not only guaranteed jungle buffs, but the potential for gold furies and the potential for tier 1 towers early on.
You see that a lot from less tenured teams as well, where, hey, we're getting invaded in the red buff, I have to defend this, I absolutely need this gold, and then you wind up going in 1v3 or 2v4 and you just die.
Speaking of golds, there is a sentry ward on top of this. Luminosity just trying to be like, maybe Denial won't notice. That's what they did. They're like, maybe Denial won't see us doing this.
Maybe Denial won't notice we're pulling the Denial with the early game Gold Fury.
I mean, that's what this Isis is for as well.
Yes, Isis. I mean, realistically speaking, Isis and Bacchus combination, it doesn't matter that your Kali's hitting like a wet noodle early on. The Isis-Bacchus combo can obliterate an early game Gold Fury.
You can see Denial on top of ward here, looking to find someone maybe caught out right-hand side. Blue buff is stolen by Benji. And meanwhile, the rest of Denial are actually starting up gold, looking to bait a fight. They know it. They have to know a sentry ward's on top of this.
They don't care. They're up 3,000 gold. They, of course, being Denial at the moment. They have superior map vision, superior itemization, and, well, they're just a step ahead of Luminosity here in the early game. Benji's going to rotate over and say hi, but quickly head back to lane. Snoopy will meet him in the jungle.
Still a slight lead, 2,500 now. So Denial continuing to pull away from Luminosity, and this is to be expected. You can see Luminosity really trying to pick their point. One thing to note, too, is they've actually invested a lot into wards, which puts them a little bit further behind. A lot of times you'll see the team that's ahead be very aggressive with their warding, but there's been a little bit, but they're only normal wards. They're not too worried about the sentries. Luminosity is solely trying to cover these choke points. You can see not only Gold Fury, but also that top side of mid-Harpies, whereas Denial's just trying to kind of spend only 50 gold of their lead in kind of these off marks, right? So even though Luminosity's going to know where Denial's rotating from, Denial's going to know where Luminosity is at all times, because they have to be in these more back positions. They can't take the typical choke points.
And when it comes to the objectives here, as I said, Denial sitting up 3,000 gold, Denial can take a fight, right? Denial will win the fight mathematically. Anything can happen, but Denial will win the fight. So by giving Luminosity the advantage of, as far as vision is concerned on the specific Gold Fury, they're saying, all right, if you start the Gold Fury, we'll just kill you, and we have more importantly, we have no problem starting the Gold Fury while you know it. Because we're able to take that fight. So we'll fight on your sentry ward, bro. Come along and fight us, and we will win. They're sort of daring Luminosity to dance with them.
And at this point, I think Denial should be really looking to force Gold Fury. Maybe not full-on commit, but bait in LG as hard as they can.
Exactly.
Osiris just hit level 12, which means the next time he backs, he's going to have a second relic. He's the only player level 12. Snoopy's 2 levels down right now, doesn't even have breastplate done, which means Benji more than likely has the gold, and it seems like Denial... Okay, I thought they were going to do it right there.
Benji's teleport is on cooldown for another half a minute, which is the big point.
You just wait.
Exactly.
You wait 30 seconds, you back, Benji gets breastplate.
And if you can get a pick in the mid lane, that's what you go for. Sash off the mark for Skeeledon, so no follow-up from the trio of Denial's core. But a good taunt, nonetheless, coming out from Shadowq. Not able to start the party.
Is he going to... Oh my god, he's proxying waves.
Proxy waving.
He's proxying wave. No one's going to be able to respond to this, and I actually like this, right? 9 seconds. I think Benji's going to back here, get breastplate, and then look towards the gold. That is the best play Denial can make right now. They've already got their 2K plus gold lead. Now abuse it even harder. There we go.
Not even backing for the breastplate, just going to go ahead and teleport over to his tier 1, where he finds Snoopy proxy farming, but he's a hair too late. And Benji burns his teleport for an aggressive play that doesn't pay off.
Oh, man. That kind of just killed the opportunity I was talking about. And Snoopy's walking back to lane. Yeah. So Snoopy will have teleport, and he's coming into this.
It's going to be a 4v5 at the moment. BaRRaCCuDDa doesn't care. Takes out 1 for Luminosity's first kill of the match.
Benji just got baited.
Yep.
Benji got so greedy for a kill that he wasted his teleport when his team had a power play option for Gold Fury. That is... an egregious mistake that may come back to haunt Denial, because now there's no hope for them going for this Gold Fury unless we see immediately Benji, who just backed, head straight to it.
Right, and with Amaterasu on the right side of the map, now both players in the solo lane, their teleports are down, so you want to take a look at what side of the map everybody tends to head to. And it looks like a return to solo lane.
His blue buff's up. He's got to go grab that. This is going to slow down Denial's pace a little bit, although they're still in a stronger position. They're still up a couple thousand gold. We're going to see Medusa back here, more than likely going to... Is she going to finish Chins early? Oh, no, it's Aussie, of course. Okay, I was about to say.
The Aussie. Interesting choice. Whenever we see the mid-mages, or excuse me, the mid-hunters, usually they're ability-based, and we see a lot of like the Transcendence builds.
Yeah, Yaman specifically really prefers that Transcendence builds. Even though Throwing Dagger has been buffed, he has his jungler to help him clear, so he's not always too worried about needing that Throwing Dagger for the extra early clear, but I guess Xenotronics probably a little bit more comfortable in this new meta.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
A little bit of life steal now for him. Right-hand side, though. Snoopy still getting out-traded by the Osiris. That should be happening for a little bit longer, especially considering he has a Tier 2 Heavy Hammer.
That Heavy Hammer doesn't slow any longer, but still provides a bunch of health.
Bye-bye.
Jeff, he's going to lose a bunch of his. Xenotronics with the dot takes out the support.
I really like Skeeledon holding his ult there, because you could see immediately BaRRaCCuDDa actually popped his Disapparate, which means at the last hit, Skeeledon wouldn't have gotten the Naja ult off.
This is the opportunity that Denial was waiting for. As I said, they're ready to take this fight. So Luminosity is here, and Shadowq's going to start
it.
Double taunt, but Pura used on the Kali. Not quite the same for Amaterasu.
Skeely's going to find it.
Bill.
Oh, I thought Skeely was going to go for it. No. So a smart decision from Denial. They're going to, instead of looking for more kills, just force andinster back, start up this Gold Fury once again. BaRRaCCuDDa backing on the left side of your mini-map. Luminosity going to give this one up.
And again, it's Denial understanding their lead and able to pressure it. And also on the side of Luminosity, you got to give credit where credit's due. A lot of teams would turn that into a meat grinder. Denial takes a pick, goes at Gold Fury. One person comes and tries to defend or steal it. They die as well. Luminosity, just like they did with their red buff, just said, fine, take it.
Get soloed, andinster. Just get soloed. Benji coming up with the big kill as andinster's trying to farm, and this is going to get even harder for the Kali. Mid lane, JeffHindla going to jump away. Skeeledon still holding his ult. We have seen... Now, that time I almost think he should have went for it, but he's been very respectful with not forcing the issue on it. He wants to make sure not to get in a bad spot, because we actually saw that the last time he played happen a lot. Skeeledon actually has the most deaths in the SPL by, like, far. Now, he's played also tied with the most games. I think it's 8, but he still has 45 deaths to his name. The second highest is at 33.
Wow.
It's bad. Or no, he has 43 deaths. Next highest is... He has 43 deaths, next highest is 34. It's still bad. Either way, it's like 10 more than most.
Either way, point received, my friend. Skeeledon, though, still finds himself number 3 on the player damage, doesn't quite need the ult. And really, there's 5 kills on the board. 2 of them Skeeledon have been involved in. And both of those kills, the sash stun was imperative to secure them. So not really finding the damage out of the ults, but certainly playing a facilitation role.
andinster here in the mid lane going to get taunted out, trying to actually kill Shadowq, but Skeeledon is going to find him this time. Oh, he actually goes straight through. andinster's going to juke it. Skeeledon's in a bad spot, but Sanctuary is good.
Excellent Sanctuary to secure the life of Skeeledon for an extra moment, but here comes BaRRaCCuDDa, able to hit him on the top off of the assist from Snoopy. Shadowq transfers onto the mid laner.
Benji's rotated as well. They're going to be looking for Snoopy. His ultimate's down, but he will get, I believe that was Meditation coming out from himself. Make sure he doesn't get too low.
Level 17 Osiris. Happy to 1v4 Luminosity under their Tier 1 14 minutes into this game. That's Benji, folks. 2-0-1.
All right, man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mistalk about the teleport. You got more farm for it. I'm sorry. I take it back. It's all good. Benji, though. I mean, we're only, like you said, 14 minutes in right now. He's got Frostbound Hammer finished. Can we actually see Golden Hand real quick? I want to see how much he has. Still at the top of the charts, only behind BaRRaCCuDDa, so going to be almost an item level lead on most players here, especially if Denial is able to secure this next Gold Fury.
You know, at 4 minutes and 30, about 4:30. We saw Denial ahead 2,000 gold.
Yes.
In 10 minutes, they were able to extend that to about 5,000 to 6,000. Just by a Gold Fury and the smaller plays of stripping the enemy jungle.
The only mistake we've seen was Skeeledon there, and that was more on andinster juking. A nice, actually, blink with 2 players trying to cut him off as well.
Love the dance coming out from Shadowq, able to make him around the team fight. But andinster winds up successful here, taking out Skeeledon and picking up his first kill of the game.
Luminosity seems to be making a point of trying to pick off the jungler as much as he can. 2 deaths to his name so far. Luminosity only has 3 kills on the board.
Well, a big part of taking out that Skeeledon is, sure, 13 and 13. Don't be deceived, though. Kevin, can you read me the 2 gold numbers for the junglers?
7,796, 99, 7,802.
And
to 6,400. So it's like a 1,300 gold.
There is a huge lead on the side of Skeeledon, at least at the gold department.
This is what I'm a little bit questioning about Skeeledon's build, because last time we saw him play, or not Kali, excuse me, Naja, he did the same style, right? The Yoans into crit, which was, that's very old school.
Yes.
New generation Naja's, specifically in Europe, since they were the first teams to really start bringing him back into the meta regularly, not this kind of every once in a while thing, build that winged play to make sure they stay alive more. So I almost would rather see him go into that, right? Go into the wing blade, especially considering he's having so much trouble staying alive.
I mean, you say he's having trouble staying alive, but he's got 2 deaths. No. Hold that, because we've got a nice little duel coming on. BaRRaCCuDDa immune to stun intelligently, but he will find a death if Vetium can find the hits. Sanctuary lasts BaRRaCCuDDa 1 more moment. 2 more basics and Barra wins this one. Last basic goes to the victor. Hello, Shadowq. And Barra will be toasted.
Is he going to get the return? Oh, the Sanctuary. I almost thought he had it. Vetium, though, managing to stay alive. Rotation from Kali as well. Snoopy's here as well. And Benji's over on the right-hand side. Skeeledon gets picked up for the 3rd time this match.
Right when I was about to say. So what I was going with Skeeledon was, sure, he's died a couple of times, but with this massive lead, if he picks up the Deathbringer, he's swinging harder than your supposed to at 16 minutes, right? So by going into that, that's playing your lead, right? That's utilizing it correctly. So I actually, if you're ahead on the Naja, I don't have a problem with going into that crit right away. I actually really like it.
I think the big thing here is that Luminosity has clearly shown that Skeeledon is their target. This Naja is the person they want to kill every time he's caught in the jungle, even remotely alone.
Now, my question is it because it's Naja or is it because it's Skeeledon?
Probably both. I think they've really recognized Skeeledon has been struggling in the jungle, and I had a lot of hope for this player, and I still do, right? But at the very least, in the first couple weeks, he has not been showing the performance that to be expected of, more specifically, this new Denial roster, who has 2 world-class players in Benji and Vetium, and Shadowq who has been around as a while. You could consider him world-class, 2014 for sure, and while he hasn't had the same success that he ever had when he was on Team Dignitas, he still knows how to play at the highest levels.
Skeeledon, one of the newer players on Denial. Shadowq, however, one of the oldest players, and one of the things that he's been known for pretty much for his entire tenureship here at Smite has been forward-thinking and really embracing some of the new stuff. Take a look at his build real quick. We see Oni Hunter's Garb, one of the items that has recently been changed. You get 60 magical protections, a 15% CDR, and a whole bunch of MP5, which is kind of neither here nor there. But more importantly is the passive. Essentially, it's a lot of text to say, you're going to go ahead and get 45 magical protections if you stay out of combat for a while. And every time you get hit, you lose 1 stack, which is 15. So that's a very powerful item against a magical-based team.
Gold Fury started again, JeffHindla, looking like he wanted to try and contest, but he's going to quickly jump away as Shadowq comes forward at him. But the team, Denial, actually going to go real deep. Benji level 20 right now. Going to be tanking this tower up and helping Denial secure a tier 1.
Yeah, Benji at this point is essentially... What's that game mode, the 4v4 one? Siege? Benji's a siege monster at this point. He's just able to walk into a tower and take it for his team. Snoopy is able to do that.
So siege
by
monsters
himself.
don't do anything. They just sit there and die, and then you kill them, and they drop like 2 archers that also die. It's all about the teamwork.
Well, my point is Benji is this behemoth right now, and to be honest with you, Snoopy's not far behind. Level 18 for himself, although his 9.6k gold pales in comparison to 11.
Speaking of Benji, he's actually picked up the Pestilence, which we've seen rise ever since kind of the small nerf to Bulwark we saw, which was clearly the best magical defense item in the game, maybe the best defensive item in the game at the start of Season 3. But it took a hit, and this is going to reduce the healing. And I'd like to see a little bit more of healing reduction, because while no one on Luminosity has this massive immediate heal, it's not like the Hells or the Raws or the Chang'as where it's a direct heal to your team. But Amaterasu, she's going to switch stances, be able to heal up. 2 meditations on the board. board. Kali as well in her ult, that'll reduce that. Isis as well, stacks up damage and circle protection, heals your team. And then Soul as well, while it's the least significant heal, I think, in this game, still a small bit. And I think a little bit of healing reduction will go a long way for Denial.
And you mentioned Pestilence is a little bit of healing reduction. Well, so is Judgment Tether. When you get a little bit plus a little bit, you kind of wind up as a lot of bit. So by putting this item on the Osiris, who's going to be leading the charge, you could really confirm that, hey, Kali, I don't care who your target is, or I don't care what your ultimate's doing, you're not going to be healing up as much as you expect.
I expect to see a Brawlers on Skeeledon, probably as his last item. Universal Ring Toss, especially if there's no minions in the way. Got to be able to stack that up a lot. Left-hand side, though, Jeff going to juke and actually turn around, but he's in the middle of 4.
Doesn't get the knockup, but does get 4 intoxicates.
It's going to be a stunt. No, he actually has to back off there. Andinster's rotated on the side, but Benji's right behind him.
Followed by Snoopy, so both solo laners are here. Looking to make not quite the dive just yet. Denial being a little trepidatious in their attack on the left-hand side.
Only one purification burden on the side of Luminosity. Every other player has their relics up. And now this is going to be a tier 2 sieged. The question is Luminosity going to try and force this?
Well, Shadowq is going to take the tower for a little bit. Vetium on the outside doesn't want to get too deep. But Luminosity's tier 2 down to about a hair of health.
This is a respectful Denial. They are making sure they don't throw. We've seen so many throws. Honestly, specifically against Luminosity, they are a very tenured team that knows how to turn around another team's mistakes, even when they're this far behind.
And I think that points, I think you have to point at Mr. Shadowq. Shadowq has always really had this more... Teams get to the top of Smite by being over-aggressive, right? That's what we've seen. Shadowq has been the opposite, though. He's been very successful in, going all the way back to Dignitas, his job was to reel that man in, right? His job was to be the passive guy of the team, and he's extended that to the rest of his career, and I think that we see that as a motif in Denial's gameplay. They're always a little bit extra careful.
Can we see? Okay, we do have gold in hand right now. Skeeledon sitting at the top with 3,000.
Go home!
Ready to finish Deathbringer here. I would like to see him grab that as soon as he finishes these mid-camps. Chin Size also online for Xenotronics. Spirit's Robe going to be able to be finished by Shadowq as well. Right now, multiple players are hitting item power spikes. I really want to see Denial force something, even if it's baiting the Fire Giant this early. They have the damage to kill it. Honestly,
yes,
right? Osiris is so large. Vetium's going to back as well. The magical power is online for him. Xenotronics, the hunter. Physical damage coming up from Skeeledon. They have enough.
I'm in perfect agreement with you, my friend. Skeeledon actually going even more aggressive, likely building into that Titan's Bane. Which you see that number 2.
I'd like to see a Brawlers instead. I think the healing reduction is going to be too good for Luminosity, or too good against Luminosity, excuse me.
You talk about healing reduction as far as what Denial needs to itemize towards Luminosity. Luminosity better start itemizing towards anti-attack speed. Where's that runic shield? That's what we need. There's 3 basic attackers. 4 if you count Naja.
That's a little bit surprising. Gold Fury, though, going to be spawning here in about 28 seconds, and Benji taking a look, actually in the middle lane.
Shadowq shows up. Skeeledon able to confirm the kill against his direct opponent. 1-1 are both junglers. Snoopy tries to find an exit on the backside. Can't, but will find a kill on the Skeeledon and a triple stun that his team simply cannot catch up to.
Benji, though, taking up 4 players. So ultimate goes, and now the question is, will Denial siege forward? It looks like Shadowq doesn't have his taunt ready, and he'll back off. But a 1-for-1, which I'm not saying that's favoring anyone since both junglers died.
I'm so impressed with Vetium right there. Obviously no kills, but 7 basics, in traffic, find a target, and the long-range time rift. I'm impressed with the Chronos.
Every single ultimate down outside of Benji's right now. Denial, they're going to be forcing this Gold Fury. Vetium, though, going to find JeffHindla in the jungle. He'll jump to the end after getting time stopped out. He's taunted, but a little bit of DR there, and he'll back off. But now, Snoopy, where are you going, bro?
Where's he going? He's going back to base the hard way. Xenotronics finds 4 kills on the Medusa.
Both junglers have respawned. You can see andinster, though, already in the mid lane, and it looks like Luminosity is actually going to give up the second Gold Fury of the game. So now a bigger lead for Denial, up to 10,000 almost.
That was a little rough, Kevin. I was singing the praises of Luminosity for showing their restraint going against their opponent and relinquishing objectives to them. But at a certain point, you got to go head on. And I think that's the Gold Fury. It puts Denial, let's take a look at the graphs. You're looking at a 10,000 gold lead here, or just shy of it. And that's the Gold Fury you got to take.
That's That's the last one I believe they can concede.
Exactly.
And the biggest reason for that is you look at the levels, the experience difference. Right now, Benji's level 20, Vetium's level 20, Xenotronics level 19, basically 20. Now, Luminosity, the players opposite of them now are only going to be catching up, right? BaRRaCCuDDa is going to be hitting 20 soon. TheBoosh still has a long way to go, but this is going to allow their carries to kind of have a little bit of time to farm. Now, in response to that, I think Denial needs to force Fire Jet right now. They don't want to allow Luminosity to get closer, and we start speaking about kind of minimizing your losses or the fact that teams will peak coming into this 25th to 35th minute.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to watch out for that and make sure that you can keep on aggressing throughout the game. Benji and Snoopy, level 20, the solo laner for Luminosity, has been able to keep up at least an experience with his opponents. Not quite the same for mid or Yeesh. Take a look at support, down 2 levels, more closer to 3, honestly. And Denial going to take that experience lead and push this mid tower.
Luminosity, though, they're in position to defend, but they're going to concede it for now. And Denial, they've got that weakened tower on the left, and it looks like that's exactly what they're going to go to.
Yeah,
no minions, though, so they're going to have to just tank it up if they want to take this.
And again, going to play it a little bit careful, but between a Chronos and a Medusa with a lot of attack speed and some pen, I think this tower absolutely melts.
I think Luminosity is willing to give it up, too.
Yeah, look at this.
Take a look at the map. Right-hand side, they're actually allowing Kali to farm up, and I think Luminosity realizes that once the Kali comes online, once she's full build, once she's not so far behind, she can honestly, if she gets one reset in a fight, just turn the game. So Luminosity gonna allow andinster to get as much solo farm as he can, and now he's gonna take a trip back to the base and honestly delay Denial a little bit as well.
Denial kind of stuck, unsure of what to do. They're going to make their decision here. Look at this tower, melting like craft singles. 4 members on the left side. Snoopy will try to find the stun, but finds nobody. Now Shadowq will be directed towards Snoopy.
Shadowq, a little bit behind the rest of his team. He's going to have a dash, and dashes away. JeffHindla waiting in the jungle, but I don't think he wants to start this fight too early.
JeffHindla, level 15 on the Bacchus. Now, Bacchus isn't quite Ares when he's behind. Ares winds up kind of being absolutely useless outside of an ultimate. Bacchus does have some application, though, right?
It's just Intoxicate, right? Belly flop as well.
Belly flop
Knockup are literally... It's the strongest CC in the game.
Yep.
Right? The second you get hit by the knockup, you're done. You're in the air. You can't do anything about it. You can't beads and drop down. You need to preemptively act against that. And that's why we see Sun Wukong kind of back in the meta as well. I wouldn't say he's back in the meta, but why some players prefer him, just because he has that massive knockup that could find multiple players, which is just so disrupting to a team once the fight breaks out.
Yeah, so Sun Wukong's been taken out of the shed. I feel like Season 2, we kind of put him aside.
Everyone's got a pocket Wukong.
Yeah.
Most solo laners, at least.
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like Wukong and Chalk, those are the characters that you learn on. And then, all right, I can clear the wave because
yes.
you've got Zarizi, and then you move on. This is what you wanted.
I want this.
This is what you wanted.
You can see Snoopy lurking and Luminosity. So they're actually just going to allow Snoopy to potentially steal it while the rest of the team just split pushes.
Denial does confirm the Fire Giant Half-Life for the solo laner. Snoopy going to take a spill here. Xenotronics 5-0-2. He's been playing for this team for 2 weeks.
Now Denial needs to figure out what they want to do. And it seems like as a team, they're going to be backing and making sure Luminosity can't get this Phoenix. They're not too worried about, they're not trying to have a base race, right? They have the lead, right?
Yeah.
They lost their tier 2. Who cares? Force Luminosity back and fight them on their Phoenix with your Fire Giant buff and your massive gold lead.
Denial's going to do exactly that, and Benji's going to meet him up in the middle. Hello, says the Osiris.
Here too.
Stunned out, but Osiris doesn't really care. Lets the Kali walk away, focusing instead on TheBoosh, the mid laner.
Oh no. Luminosity actually has responded, trying to save TheBoosh, but Denial's going to pop sprint surge forward. TheBoosh is as good as dead. Skeeledon with the last hit. Benji getting low, but he's not super worried. He's a pretty tanky solo laner right now.
I mean, you say he's low. Can we see Benji real quick before he backs? I don't know.
He's gone.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. Frostbound, health. Pestilence, health. Urchin, health. I mean, this character...
He's over 3K.
He looked low. But as far as percentage, he's low. Number-wise, still pretty high.
Snoopy dazzling offense, surges forward. Actually, already poked out. You can see he's very low. Meditation gonna try and keep him alive, but Skeeledon should secure that kill. And it's in the back line, trying to find a reset. He kills 1, he kills 2. It's gonna be Vetium and the reset. Skeeledon responds with his own double kill as Kali falls. andinster, almost a big turnaround there, but not enough.
Got a little taste of what Kali is capable of, but Denial still have 3 players here ready to take the Phoenix, only 2 to defend. It's BaRRa and Jeff. Dual lane transition in the late game. Can they stop the Firebird? Looks not. Denial get the first Phoenix of the game. It's in the mid lane.
Jeff thought he was in a little bit of trouble, but it's actually Benji still trying to fight 3, but he was, I believe, at 1/3 health when he started that, so yes. He's going to be back off. But honestly, that was a pretty big hold from andinster. It's going to allow Denial to only get 1 Phoenix off of their Fire Giant and only 2 players with the buff, and one of those is Shadowq.
Now, I want to point out that Skeeledon ulted the Amaterasu out of that fight, and andinster, I mean, Kali's going to Kali. That's just what happens. But at the end of the day, I love the decision to focus on Snoopy right there, because don't forget, one of the big things that Amaterasu brings to team fights in the late game is not just her damage and her presence, but the auras. And by ulting up the Amaterasu to the sky, no more extra power for you, bud. So he literally takes a buff out of the game for a couple of seconds.
And those are the 2 targets that, honestly, Skeeledon needs to focus out on this point. You can see he's gone mostly damage. He did finish the Brawlers, also gone Titans. Now he's starting onto a Spirit Robe, so he can hopefully stay alive. He has 4 deaths to his name, while the rest of his teammates only have 1 each. This is kind of the target that Luminosity is looking at. But
yes,
Skeeledon needs to ult out either Kali or Amaterasu, but I think next time it has to be Kali, right? As long as Denial's carries can still deal with Snoopy, which they've shown they can.
Yes. They
have the damage online to kill him, specifically Vetium, really able to handle him with that magical damage and the fact that there's not a lot of magical protection onto Snoopy.
Denial now, after another Cold Fury, find themselves very close to that scary 20k mark.
Look at Snoopy. Last item slot, boys. We got a Spectral Armor. We got a little bit of Ghost Walk. We got a little Osiris onto Amaterasu.
Look at that. So what that item is going to allow him to do is literally walk through, well, player-made walls. Taking a look.
Players as well. And creeps. Everything. Except for, like,
I think the players is really what he's looking for. I mean, the physical protection is going to help him a lot. That 80 physical protection will definitely help him out, as Skeeledon has been able to pretty much obliterate him next to Xenotronics. But, you know, really, it's so interesting that this item is being purchased, because we expected this item to be the anti-Odin. Odin's not here, Thor's not here, Ymir's not here, but we're still seeing the item purchased.
I mean, walking through players is pretty good. Now, this is only going to activate on relic use, which means Snoopy doesn't really have the best use of it, considering he went teleport, but anytime he uses that meditation for 4 seconds, he's going to have Ghost Walk. Also, like we said, the physical protection is still very good as well, and the item's pretty cheap, 2,100. It's a lot of protection for that amount.
We'll see how it works out. I think there's other, maybe a Nimian line specifically. I might have liked to
another
see.
Mid-Guardian.
Yeah.
For attack speed reduction. That's what I'm surprised when I see. You mentioned it earlier.
No runic shield.
I don't know why.
It 20 minutes ago. Where's the runic shield? Definitely need a runic shield.
Or Witchblade. Honestly, Witchblade's probably better. Well, I don't know. They're both attack speed.
Yeah. I mean, they're both similar items to Spectral Armor in the sense that you're sacrificing a little bit in stats for a very good passive.
Kali online, though, looking to finish her last item. That's going to be Stone Cutting Sword. And TheBoosh, we haven't really talked about him too much. He's kind of getting bullied. Not much he can do. Kind of, at this point, just a CC bot. Going to be looking for those Spirit Balls and silences in the middle of the team fights as much as he can.
Yeah, that's what we mentioned earlier on as we got into out of the picks and bans. There just isn't a lot of hard crowd control on the side of Luminosity. So now it's pretty much up to Boosh to be the peel guy. He's the peeler.
Denial surging forward. It's going to be a 5v5. Snoopy takes a trip back to base. This could be the end of the game. 33 minutes in. Luminosity, this is the strongest they are going to get. Almost every single player is full build.
Pushing forward. Vetium trying to find the space to hit the Phoenix. Stun gonna miss on Jeff, but there's a shell early on from Denial. They need to commit now if they want to make use of that relic.
I love that they actually reset the fight the second Snoopy and Jeff went in. That's an ultimate down they don't have to worry about. And now Shadowq going for it. Vetium in the backline. Actually going to find 2 with the stun and resets himself.
Resets himself, bringing back his cooldowns most notably. You might be asking yourself why he did that with a lot of HP. It's all for the cooldowns, baby. Firebird gets looked at in the mid lane and just gets destroyed. 1 Phoenix remains. Shadowq starts tanking it up. Both basic attackers are here. They're chewing through Snoopy. There's the shell on the side of Luminosity this time, trying to withstand some of the damage that's coming out of Denial. And they will successfully push Denial a couple of steps back in the left lane.
Intoxicate down. BaRRaCCuDDa's ultimate down. Only andinster has Destruction and Circle Protection on the BaRRaCCuDDa left. Luminosity, they're going to have to hold, but they have 2 Phoenixes down. This could be Denial upsetting LG.
It's certainly looking like it might go in that direction. Shadowq taking the tower. Benji getting... Oh, I thought he was going to follow Jeff there. Opts not to. There's Andy. Gets the stun. Looking at Skeeledon. Already taken out. 1 for the Kali. 2 for the Kali. Shadowq falls. Still pushing. He's got to fall back. Andinster, half HP.
LG holds somehow, but the fight's not over. It's going to be Benji taken out. That's 3 dead on the side of Denial, and now... once again, they're going to be forced back. This Kali. Andinster finds a double kill, but this time he doesn't die. And Denial not able to turn it around and find a single kill. This is worrying for Denial. They seem to have no answer for this Kali right now. We didn't see the mechanical skill we needed from Skeeledon. He had both relics up and still died in the stun time.
One of the things that I think Denial can switch around is we're seeing repeatedly Shadowq is leading the charge. He's taking the towers and allowing his teammates to go ahead and file in behind him. That's got to be Benji's job now. Shadowq has to sit on the back line and just have his hand on taunt. And the second Andy shows up, you taunt, everybody turns and burns, and then there's no more Kali.
Luminosity at this point are only going to be closing the gap. It's going to be a tier 1 tower. Should be a tier 2 as well, unless Denial want to hold. They do have Vetium and Xenotronics, 2 very high damage dealing characters. But it's going to be the tier 2 down, and now... like I said, Denial, in that last siege, they were full build. Luminosity is simply closing this gap.
JeffHindla not quite full build, but everybody else, as you said, completely gold at the point where it's pretty much close to being irrelevant. So Denial have been drastically ahead, but Luminosity kind of saying, so what?
Ooh, actually, they might be able to find the BaRRaCCuDDa, and they are. He's in a little bit of trouble, but he jukes the stun there, and now he's going to be sitting in a circle protection, but I mean, he's as good as dead. Xenotronics actually stood in the circle of protection.
Just for fun.
Lag. He still has Fire Giant buff, so he's going to get a little bit of regen, but he has to be worried about Andinster. Blink online again.
Xeno is definitely in the conversation for being absolutely melted.
He's got lifesteal too.
Back up, though, thanks to the lifesteal and the Fire Giant buff.
Denial looking for this last Phoenix, the right and mid. Not going to be spawning for another minute. So LG do have to worry about the firemen. And you can see Andinster actually sitting in the back line taking care of them. He's not going to have Blink if he's in combat.
Benji's on Andy duty. Benji's just chasing around the Kali. Snoopy, on the other hand, backline duty, looking directly for Vetium. Gets a stun, not a kill. Benji now jumps in place, looking for damage coming out from the Athena. Snoopy takes a chunk, but it's not enough.
JeffHindla managing to stay alive, and this is going to be a wash, it seems. No player died. Xeno got a little bit low. Same with Benji there, but Jeff also. So it's just, I mean, Luminosity, they hold with 4 there. This is worrying for Denial. They need to switch up, I think, their team fights. Because them forcing this engage has not worked to their benefit. And that was without Andinster even making a play in there. He was looking for it, but he didn't find the opportunity.
Just a little bit more peel needed for Denial. Though that time was...
Skeely's not even finding his ult. Like, at this point, go tanky, right? Sell one of your items. Sell almost... I'm almost saying sell Deathbringer. Get a little bit more CDR. Well, I guess you're almost capped, but something to keep you alive. I want to see some attack speed reduction, because if you can stack it up against Andinster, he's going to be not next to useless, but...
Sure. No, I know.
It's a lot less likely that he makes those impactful doubles.
Fire Giant being started up here. It just spawned. Denial looking directly at it with Luminosity, looking over their shoulder. Jeff, the biggest target for steal capability, gets taunted out. Ultimate's going to hit 4, and Jeff takes out Vetium very early. And he's got 1, and he's looking for 2, and he finds it. Gonna keep on continuing, and he's looking for 3, but Benji shuts him down before the triple.
Shadowq as good as dead here. It's going to be JeffHindla to find him. That's 4 dead on the side of Denial. Only
50.
Benji stands. There's fire minions, and LG's going to lose their middle Phoenix, but they don't care. There's no one spawning.
LG's going to lose their middle Phoenix, but they're going to win the game here, Kevin. Middle Phoenix gets taken out very quickly thanks to the power of the basic attacks coming out from BaRRaCCuDDa and friends. Benji tries to show up, but he gets shut down.
4 players on LG alive. No one spawning on Denial for 30 seconds, and LG do the near impossible, down 15,000 gold at the end of the game, or at the height of Denial's lead. And they hold out 5v5. Andinster with 2 magnificent double kills, holding his Phoenixes. And Denial, they're going to take the L somehow after an amazing start.
Turn around. That's what happens. Luminosity find themselves on top of the win, despite the fact that they were never on top of the game itself by way of lead.
Were they down? I'm assuming they were down in gold at the end there too.
Yes, down in gold.
Unbelievable.
Luminosity, they just that's the power of these late game characters, the hyper carries that can come out. I mean, like we said, they didn't have a win at all. We're going to take a look at First Blood, and guess who it was? Not Luminosity. Came out from the other side, Denial, and it was very quick.
This was just perfect execution coming out from Skeeledon and Xenotronics. I think the two players that were really struggling for Denial. This time, though, Denial gets out of the early game deficit, right? They're actually, where a lot of times where their core was struggling, their core actually performed very well. So then they go into late game, and honestly, it seems that the team is struggling in other areas as well.
I mean, andinster just absolutely went off. Nobody was able to control him, and pretty much single-handedly won this game. Smite is a team game. I say it every day. But this is andinster making sure he doesn't lose the game, and we're going to see two of these clips, and then an identical clip, which leads to the win. This is the secondary.
I think that was his third double, actually. He picks up one more here, or does he just jump away?
Nope, this is the one that leads to the win right there. Luminosity down, look at that. 12,000 gold at the time of the last fight. And the gold wound up being irrelevant as far as the lead is concerned, but it tells the story of how the farm is going, etc. So
honestly, I know Luminosity played phenomenally, but I'm putting this on Denial. Skeeledon specifically had zero impact in those sieges, right? He took up Snoopy when he should have taken up andinster.
Sure.
Honestly, Vetium, he had the damage. He had the damage to deal with Snoopy. He doesn't need to protect his backline as much as I think he was trying. Additionally, that second time he died, we actually saw the first double kill coming out from andinster.
Right.
He had both his relics up. He gets stun locked twice, doesn't use it, doesn't use his ult. I really like Skeeledon. I think he has a lot of potential, but he has not been performing to the level that's needed for Denial to deservedly win versus LG.
I'll agree right there. There's a lot of options that Denial could have gone. We could have seen, all right, the backline's getting aggressed on, like I offered before, does Shadowq slink back and play taunt guy? Or Skeeledon, if you're not fighting those ultimates aggressively, maybe you just sit back and wait for the... Either way, the game plan had certain holes in it. As we get...